Setting up the rig here to take a virtual reality panorama, and that requires the use of this specialized object, this rotational device here, which I'm spinning on, and this has been calibrated in advance for this particular lens at the widest focal length, which is equivalent to a 28 millimeter on a 35. See the spirit levels I'm doing here?
Mm-hmm.
You might be a little closer. Does it seem to be focusing?
Yep.
And then I'm mounting the camera. Again, this has been pre-calibrated. 28 millimeter there. The back plate here. And the camera has to be perpendicular and set at this particular focal length, 14. All right. And the sequences, there are detents here that are set for 16 exposures, which will overlap the correct amount for a 28 millimeter lens for the automated software. So I'm going to start by taking the first shot centered on the Buddha image, and now I'm clicking into a detent. It never hurts to make two sets. For instance, here I seem to have had the leveling not quite correct. So I'm going to redo this sequence. Alright. Again, I'm checking that the camera is completely vertical. And let's just go through a second sequence. This time I'm going to go around in the other direction. Because there's a extreme brightness from this window here, I can get an incorrect exposure reading. So what I'm doing is I'm going back to the previous image, holding the shutter partly down, and then rotating there, which will give me correct exposure for that one. We're getting ready for the monks to eat. Same thing for here. Because we have a lot of windows, I'm repeating some of these with different exposures. I could program this camera to take a series of 3 exposures, 1 or 2 stops different from exposure to exposure. But I'm not. I'm kind of eyeballing it, and where there's a window, I'm just going to have to select these images in the end. And here we are at the last one.
I downloaded the SD card that had that sequence on it, and I'm calling up a still image viewer. In this case it's Preview and running under Mac, and I see I have what looks like 21 good images, 22 good images. I can scroll through them one at a time to see how good they are. They look okay. A couple of them might be exposure problems like here, but there also seems to be an alternative image there that's usable. I see that the first and the last image repeat slightly out of registration. That might be a problem. At any rate, this looks generally acceptable to me, and now we go to the next phase, which is to download these. We've just opened up the Calico software, which is an automated image stitching software. What we're going to do, having previewed the images and determining we have a good set, we hit the load key, and in this case we have those images saved under a file called Vat Samaggi JPEGs. Here are all of them, and we're going to load them. And the first thing we're going to do is to rotate the image set so that we have all 22 of them showing up. And as I mentioned, we have more than we need. So first of all, we have to get rid of this one, which we determined was bad exposure. We had compensated on the camera with good exposure, deleted that one. Here we have 2 that are identical, probably just a mistake in shooting the shutter twice. We can get rid of one of those. Here we have a difference in exposure. I think we can get rid of the darker one. Here, going back, we had a situation where we had a woman partly obscured by the gong, and another image where the woman is sitting in the foreground. We can get rid of that one, the previous one. Okay, she's fine-tuning the matches now, and we're going to get a rendering done. This is just a preliminary rendering, but we'll get a sense of how good this thing looks in terms of how well stitched it has been, whether it looks like it'll close to a 360 okay. This software does not make the cylinders. I'll show you in a moment. We go to another software for that. Okay, here we are with a preliminary stitched image. It actually looks quite good indeed, and the next step is to hit the make button and to start the image processing, which I will start here. This could be we're going to give it the highest possible definition, 100%. And it's going to subdivide it into 39 vertical slices of what around 18 or 19 original images, and this will take about 10 minutes. We're nearing the end of the image processing period, the rendering period, and we're just going to follow through from the next step here. Component images is 6 megs. There's 19 or 20 images, so we're talking about 120 megs to be processed. Okay. Now it's going to come up with a large TIFF file, which I'm going to have to open up directly and then process that TIFF into another software. So let's go there. Here is the TIFF image, which still includes all of the distortion of QTVR package. We're looking at under again, preview. I can't manipulate the image or change it or edit it under preview, but I could have called it up into Photoshop and increase the overall brightness, change the color balance, etc. But that's not necessary in this case. I think we have a usable image, so we're going to take this, which was by default entitled Pano TIFF, and it's 312 megs because we asked it for the highest resolution, and we're going to use this as the source image for the next software, which is Pano to VR. We'll go there now. Okay, we've opened up the second automated software, which is Pano to VR. This allows us to take the stitched, non-distortion corrected TIFF file, or we could also load up a JPEG, and create an immersive panoramic image. So here we are. We're going to select the input. Here we are. We're going to open it. Okay. And it's processing that. Here is the QTVR version. The size of this QTVR file is 50 megs. The image quality is really quite good. Because we're using a lot of the processor here for Snaps Pro to generate a movie from screenshots, it's not running as smoothly as it would if we were running it straight QuickTime, but it's usable even like this. The resolution is quite good, as you'll see. For instance, let's look at these distinguished. This is maximum resolution. This is quite satisfactory on the whole. And as we swoop through the whole thing, you should recognize the individual components that we discussed briefly earlier in this presentation. Again, if we had more RAM on this machine, we'd probably have a smoother playback. But the playback is much smoother when we're not doing a movie grab to make this video version. Remember, you're not seeing a QTVR, you're seeing a video a screen grab video of a QTVR.